We talk about cars that people actually buy on this episode, mid-size sedans. We also look at viewer comments about self-driving cars. Next on Talking Cars. Hi everybody, welcome to Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. I'm Tom Muchler.
I'm Jake Fisher.
I'm Gabe Schenhauer.
You know, it's easy to get lost in the discussions of luxury SUVs and fast sports cars and Tesla. You know, there's a lot of ordinary cars that we drive. And actually, you know, like a good hamburger, I find that a good family sedan is satisfying in a way. It's a challenge for an automaker to make something efficient, roomy, reliable, and affordable all at once. And we have two new family sedans parked behind us, don't we, Gabe?
Yeah, we have a Chevy Malibu and we have a Kia Optima. And these family cars, or I don't know, call them mid-size sedans, because last time I saw a family in a sedan was really 20 years ago, I think. I think there is some unwritten law that you have to have an SUV if you have a family. Mm-hmm. But anyway, a few years ago, I think the Ford Fusion started this move towards a stylish family sedan, mid-size sedan. And now, you know, and the Kia Optima and the Chevy Malibu really look like they're really stylish. They have a silhouette of a coupe. Mm-hmm. They are nice cars, totally competitive, roomy inside. They don't drive in a totally boring way. And I think they're
that's faint praise.
I think they're very appealing.
Listen, this is a very established segment, right? Mm-hmm. There are a lot of really, really good vehicles in the segment, and to go stand out is really hard.
Sure, it is.
So, I mean, I think, you know, I mean, we talk all the time about, like, you know, why isn't there a good sports sedan anymore? You know, I mean, there's a lot of segments that really need some help. Small, tiny SUVs, there's not really great ones there.
They're not worked out yet.
They're not worked out.
I'm sorry, mid-size sedans are worked out.
Mid-size sedans are worked out, and there's lots of, I mean, you can look at our ratings, and we're like, wow, they all do pretty well. Some do better than others, but there's a lot of great choices. And when you actually take these vehicles and you start opting them up, and you put in the leather and you put in some of the stuff, I mean, you close your eyes. I mean, don't close your eyes when you're driving. No, you know, bad. But I mean, you almost think you're in a luxury car, because honestly, there's not a big difference between that and a luxury car these days.
Mm-hmm. No, actually, I'm glad you brought up the Ford Fusion, because that is a car that very clearly blurs the lines between, you know, mundane family sedan and a luxury sedan, because, you know, it rides so well, it handles so well, it looks really good. You can get a whole ton of equipment on it. And
yeah, you close your eyes, which you shouldn't
do.
You kind of feel like you're in an Audi or something.
Exactly. Well, and to that point, it also kind of explains a little bit of the problems that Lincoln has, because Lincoln has the, you know, they take their, you know, the MKZ, and they take these vehicles and they try to make a luxury version of it, and they just become pretty much redundant. You know, because the mainstream vehicles are so good.
Right. Actually, the bigger threat is that you mess it up. You know, it's easy to take the mass market car and kind of make a mess out of it for the luxury car. That happened with the Ford Escape going to the MKC. Sure. The MKC does not drive as well as its mass market cousin.
That's either a put down to the Lincoln or a big compliment to the Ford.
We're
saying
little both.
Ford is too good.
It's a lot of both, actually.
It's a lot of both.
You know, and actually, the Malibu also gets caught when you compare it to the Fusion, because the previous Malibu was a pretty boring car. I mean, you know, it's funny that as the replacement comes out, it gets knocked more and more often. But, you know, we actually liked the Malibu because it was really quiet, it rode really well. Yeah, it was boring, the fuel economy was behind par, and rear seat room really wasn't big. And they made some tweaks to the styling and some tweaks to the rear seat room that were just token
They made the improvements that they needed to do. So you're exactly right. Malibu kind of stood out. It's very, very quiet, which is something that, you know, when you're driving a vehicle for a long time, or you own a car for a while, it makes a big difference, that quietness. And it did that well. Didn't have the rear seat room, didn't really have the fuel efficiency. You know, they got a bunch of weight out of it, they packaged it better, they addressed what it needed. Now it's probably going to be very, truly competitive.
That's right. The redesign makes it a competitive car. It has a lot more rear seat room, it looks a lot better, it feels lighter to drive. The problem, though, is that I think we'd be applauding the Malibu much more than we are if the Fusion hadn't done this 3 or 4 years ago. Because, I mean, the Fusion looks great too. It has plenty of rear seat room. It drives really well. I mean, GM even sort of followed Ford's powertrain philosophy with, a 1.5 liter turbo and a 2 liter turbo, and that's all your options.
Yeah, so yeah, let's throw this word of caution here that, with small displacement turbos, and this has the 1.5 turbo, and there's an upscale one with a 2 liter turbo, pretty much following the Ford Fusion formula here, and yeah, we haven't seen the fuel economy gains with these in the real world with these kind of small displacement turbos.
No, and that would be the interesting thing to find out, because right now, I mean, I'd rather drive that 2.4 liter, 2.4 liter in the Optima than the 1.5 in that Malibu, because it is more refined, and we'll see how much fuel economy difference there is, if there is one.
We'll see, indeed.
I mean, that Optima is a very pleasing car.
It is.
There's a lot of Audi. I mean, they cribbed designers from Volkswagen Audi Group. There's a lot of Audi feel to it. You feel like you've bought something that's more expensive than what you actually
Right. Even
paid
though
for.
you can hardly tell the difference between the from the exterior between this one, the previous generation Optima, but the previous generation was all about style, but they didn't really work out the suspension, ride handling were very unrefined, and here in this generation they really kind of like honed it in.
Yeah, the ride is more composed. There is more rear seat room. I mean, it's also true to the Kia formula. There's a lot of car there for the money. I mean, that Optima EX has leather seats, a power driver's seat, memory seat. That car stickers for $25,860. The Malibu LT there stickers for $26,790. You have cloth seats that look like they came out of a rental car. You don't have automatic climate control. I mean, the value proposition is tough with that Malibu.
But there is a nice infotainment system. The MyLink is one of my favorite infotainment systems. And, yeah.
And it has CarPlay. But
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. I mean, first of all, at the dealership, I mean,
there'll be
there's going to be
incentives on
incentive and
both.
discounts on
Yeah.
both. But I think really, if you look at the whole market across the board, I don't think you're going to find better values than this segment right here. I think you're going to get a lot of vehicle
across the entire automotive market.
of the entire automotive market.
Yeah, that's a good
I'm not talking
point.
about these cars specifically, but just because of this family sedans, and Gabe's right, families are moving to small SUVs, where maybe there's not quite as much value there. But this mid-size sedan market is so evolved, and there are so many competitive entries. This is where you're going to get most bang for your buck.
So what's not competitive?
Well, and that's an interesting thing. There are many good choices. It doesn't mean everything is good. There are vehicles out there. I mean, the Chrysler 200. I mean, we've obviously talked plenty about that.
Right.
There was some news this week that it looks like they may even be phasing that vehicle out in the future, just realizing they can't get it right. We're, Nissan Altima.
Yeah, because Nissan's updated the Altima also for 16.
And we bought one, and didn't have room to show it here. But, but anyway, you drive the Altima, you drive these cars, and there is a difference.
These feel much more substantial.
Oh, they do, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the steering feel on the Altima, it's numb. You're very removed, and it's not like the Altima does everything poorly, right? It's got great fuel efficiency, and it feels, it's energetic. It's a decent powertrain, but the handling, it just feels removed. I mean, it's not even like a luxury car. It's just kind of like.
Oh, it's very disconcerting. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's interesting, and again, going to these cars is like because they're so evolved. And these guys, I think they did it right? It's like you look at it, it's like we're doing a lot of things right, but there's one or two things that we need to hone, and they did that. Right? And they didn't screw up anything else in the process. And that's how you do it right. But there's other cars out there that, we're going to make a new styling, and now we're going to make the controls they're impossible to use, or we're going to put a new transmission in that fails half the time or whatever. And we see that too.
Right. I mean, well, that was also the problems with the Chrysler 200 is that it just had when that design came out a year or two ago, it just has so many, not only design problems, but it has reliability problems too.
Right.
You can't see out of it. There's not a lot of headroom. The 9-speed is not worked out.
It's plagued with that 9-speed automatic, which every car maker who adapted this 9-speed automatic is struggling with. And and it's not competitive because there's no rear seat room there, and the visibility is lousy.
Right, and it also really just doesn't drive all that well. So family sedans, I keep saying family sedans, mid-size sedans are pretty well worked out, but like you said, a lot of people have walked away from this segment. They have moved on to small SUVs. And one of the most popular small SUVs, the Toyota RAV4, got updated for 2016.
Right. So yeah, it got a midlife updating, just like the Honda CR-V got it a year ago, and Toyota made the RAV4 a little quieter, a little softer, a little gentler.
The operative word's a little.
Yeah, very little. Yeah. For instance, I think they added soft pad on the upper
There's
door
one
trim,
more piece of soft
and
touch
they
stuff,
call
yeah.
it better
All
fit
new,
finish,
yeah.
right? And most importantly, the addition of a hybrid version.
Now, I mean, a hybrid small SUV is a big deal. You know, it was a market segment that didn't really have one except for the View.
The Escape.
Yeah, and the Escape, but the Escape's been away for a couple
Yep.
years, so.
Yeah, yeah, it almost seems like a no-brainer. You know, I mean, you look at Toyota; they've been so successful with their hybrid synergy drive, right? I mean, this is what they've been for what 15 years now in the American market, right? They've kind of really. When hybrids came out, they did it right away.
Yes.
And everyone's been kind of playing catch up. And that's worthwhile to say also in this Malibu
Right, the
that they're
the Malibu hybrid's a real hybrid.
a real hybrid along the same lines as what Toyota has been doing for quite a while. And every car that we've tested with this hybrid, this Toyota hybrid system, and some variation of it, really does its job, really does well. It's got the power, it's got the fuel efficient, real world fuel efficient. Whatever tests we throw at it, it does well, does great on the highway, does great elsewhere. But they've been kind of restrictive about where they apply it. I'm still waiting for a minivan. Chrysler, to their credit, is going to beat them to a hybrid minivan. But yeah, small SUV, that is the family car today. And to have a hybrid one, I'm interested to see what we're going to get at. I suspect we're probably going to see around 30 miles per gallon.
Right, we saw that out of the Lexus NX 300,
Which has the identical running gear. there.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's, again, a higher cost vehicle to get into it. But to get into a vehicle that is a family car at basically a family car price, and to get 30 miles per gallon out of a vehicle that could do that, yeah, that's pretty cool.
And what's really cool, though, is that there isn't a big uptick in price. I mean, we bought two RAV4s. We bought a RAV4 XLE and an XLE hybrid. Our RAV4 XLE is $29,014. Our RAV4 hybrid is $29,753. $700 more to get the hybrid. That's
Yep. Well, if they want to sell cars right now with,
if they want to sell hybrids right now,
gas is like $1.70 even here in
Yeah.
Connecticut, right? I mean, they need to do that. Keep in mind, it's not going to be $30 a barrel oil for
forever. It's going
so, boy, that seems like a pretty good investment to get a hybrid right now.
Yeah, it does. The one problem I have here is that price to begin with, the RAV4 is not a good value. I mean, you can get a Subaru Forester with a bigger panoramic moonroof, a power driver's seat, heated seats. You can get a Forester with that stuff and eyesight
So, yeah.
for less than that RAV4 with no power seat.
Right, you're talking about
no heated seats.
You're talking equipment levels more than value, which is more than
Well,
that.
I think to an awful
cost
lot
of
of
ownership
people.
and.
Well, I think to a lot of people, equipment levels. Toyota's being cheap with equipment.
Yeah, I mean, it looks a little plain inside. I mean, but they give you, to counter those things, it gives you automatic climate control, sunroof, power liftgate. Well, I mean, I'd take the power seat and lumbar support over the power liftgate, of course.
I mean, a Mazda CX-5 is the same thing. I've got a power, I can get a CX-5 Touring with a power driver seat, blind spot monitoring for less than this RAV4.
Yeah. Well, it's, Toyota feels like it can do whatever it wants. It's such a giant.
Again, it comes down to, when you're at the dealership, it comes down to, when you actually price and see what these things are going out the door for. So, it's all demand, it's all of that. So this stuff's going to move around. I mean, we're talking MSRP. That's not exactly what the actual transactional price is. Right now, yeah, I mean, that Forester's got a lot going for it, for sure. And the CX-5, if you want something that's fun to drive, that owns it. That owns it in this market. For something that's going to be reliable and also be fun to drive. It is an evolving market. You look at that small SUV market, again, talking about value, I mean, there's a lot of value there too, and it's catching up. And these cars are now in these SUVs, whatever. I mean, they're their third generations, fourth generations.
They're mature products.
Actually,
They're mature products.
Evolving is a great theme here because the RAV4, it used to be 20 years ago, it used to be like a kind of like a GTI type of an SUV, really sporty and edgy. And now it's gotten mainstream. You can pretty much describe it as the Toyota Camry of small SUVs.
Sure, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, not a bad thing.
It's a
but-
Camry wagon
Exactly.
of today.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
It's very appealing, very well-rounded, does everything well, you know, may not excite you though.
No, it doesn't.
This is our boring episode, basically. We're going to be talking about boring cars that people actually buy.
That's right.
That's what we
That's
decided.
right. Let's get to some reader
McLaren.
comments.
Questions about McLaren?
That's right. That's right. Next episode's all McLaren, the McLaren Lamborghini Maserati.
That's what I was
is
hoping
next.
for.
Let's get to some reader comments. Ryan asks, the last show we talked about, should a father keep his old Volvo S80 for his son, or should he get a new car? This comment is, why not just buy Volvo Dad's son? Why not just buy Volvo Dad's son driving lessons instead of a car? Forget the countless safety features we all buy as insurance nowadays. How about improving the driver first?
Ooh, I like this guy. I like this guy.
I
a
don't
lot.
like him at all.
No,
I'll
here's the
be
thing.
honest.
Here's the thing. You can do both. And his point is good. Being a better driver and having some driving training is huge, because it's one thing to protect you in the accident, the other thing is to avoid the
But
accident.
knocking safety equipment is wrong. I have
No,
excuses.
I'm
I
with
have
you.
no
I'm with you.
excuses.
And
Yeah,
I like part of it. Let me say, I
Okay.
like part of it. I
All
like
right.
what he's getting at. Look, I mean, we run a teen school here. I mean, it is just so eye-opening what you can do with half a day of training
Right.
to get someone to know how to press the brakes all the way down and hold it down and not lift off when the ABS goes on and what that means. It's hugely important. That said, the safety stuff is really important too. So I would say do both, but I think to his point, you know, to have the conversation about what car your teen should drive or what car is safe without having the conversation of how to drive to avoid this accident is something that, you know, worthy that he brings up.
Yeah, there's no question. Car control is crucial, and I'm a believer of it just as much as Jake. I mean, in fact, I took my son to drive in the snow in an empty parking lot the other day. And yeah, but you can be the best driver in the world. You're not immune from the occasional distraction or the
Fatigue
or the
just making a
human
mistake.
error
Yeah.
Or
of some
getting
sort.
sideswiped
Yeah,
by someone that
exactly.
you know, I mean, look, you get rear-ended. I mean, you can't always avoid a rear-ended crash.
Exactly. So these features have value, definitely have value, and there's no indication that distraction is going away.
No, I don't think there is. Talking more about technology and drivers and people. Let's see. Self-driving cars will be safer. If I'm driving on the highway and feel tired and fatigued, am I just going to let the car take over? Probably not, because I'm more likely to fall asleep behind the wheel. This is just a gimmick from the auto industry, and I will avoid self-driving cars like the plague. I don't know. I mean,
You know,
it's a chicken and the egg thing. It's like, you're
They're all-
tired, so it's going to protect you, but you're not driving and you're not involved. So
We're not
We're not
there
there
yet. And I think, you know, he's hitting upon something that we've talked about too.
Yep.
We're in this weird gray area where it's not driving for you, it's sort of helping you. Does that mean I don't have to pay attention as much? Yeah, it is a little bit messy.
Yep, the gray area is the perfect thing to mention because that comes up in the next comment. Absolute autonomy is me falling asleep and arriving at my destination safely. Obviously, we are not at that point. This guy's great. Obviously, we are not at that point, but the public needs to know what are the limitations of this machine I'm buying or getting into.
Right.
It's all over the map with no real way to tell. And
Yeah.
that's what's happening. It's already bad enough with Ford collision warning that a lot of people buy cars, they don't know that they have this capability.
Right.
And now you're talking about cars that steer themselves, cars that control the throttle. And
Sort
brake.
of do.
Sort of do in certain
Yeah.
situations.
There is so much confusion out there. I mean, lane departure warning, lane keep assist. There is such a conglomerate of acronyms out there floating, and nobody really does a good job of explaining it. But we will.
Yeah, I mean, this also comes to mind with Tesla, because Tesla keeps coming out with these beta systems that are super advanced technology. Your car, just one day you wake up, the car has, it's got a new feature. Now it steers itself.
Yeah.
Oh, the car now will come in. It has summon mode on it. The car will come to me. It's sort of documented through the operating menu in it, and but it's like you have this whole suite of technology that's not well explained, and the limitations are very nebulous.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, it's very difficult to figure out what these things do, what they're promised to do. our car got an update, right? Our Tesla, before it had autopilot, still has autopilot. It's not an autopilot system.
Right.
Okay. We've talked a lot about that. It says that auto parks. They kind of promised it like, oh, I get out of the car, I hit a button, and it goes parks itself. It doesn't really do that. You know, it kind of is like kind of a rudimentary remote control car.
Right.
We've been playing with ourselves. It does have a parking feature, but you have to be in the car to do that. But it's not really clear. And the more this technology comes down, it's getting to be like, we were just talking about this before, about electronics, right? We all have smartphones, right? We don't know all the capability of that smartphone. We haven't gone through every single menu. We don't know all the features it has. And it used to be with cars, you know everything the car has. I know it's got FM, it's got AM, it's whatnot.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the radio. I know how a radio's supposed to
There
work.
are menu structures on your car probably right now that you're like, I never really tried this, and this changes that. So yeah, it is a weird situation.
Right, and I mean, we're able to develop technology quicker than we're able to develop a way to educate people about it. And also people are impatient and don't really read instructions or watch videos.
And there are always going to be some people who are reactionary and will resist new technology.
No, you're right. I wish I asked this earlier because this actually feeds in with talking about these mid-size sedans. Harold says, I am looking for a mid-size sedan between $30,000 and $40,000 just to get me to work and come back. What car would you recommend in this price range? Any brand, please help.
Well, first of all, he would be happy to know he could take about $10,000 and put it back in his pocket.
He can, yeah.
Because there are some really good choices here. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, if you don't care about driving, you can get yourself a Toyota Camry 4-cylinder that will run.
you could get an Impreza, you could get,
mid-size
a Legacy,
a Legacy.
Yeah.
Honda Accord. I mean, there's
Sure.
a lot of really nice choices.
Sure, Mazda 6 if you like driving, Ford Fusion,
Right.
But he doesn't. So yeah, Toyota Camry, Subaru Legacy, all of those.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good
of them.
choices, and a lot of stuff that has optional advanced safety equipment like forward collision warning. I'd pay to get that.
Sure.
You know, which Legacy with eyesight will certainly do that. There's a lot of good choices. Okay, now we've been responsible this episode. Okay, we have
Can we
talked.
stop?
Yes. Well, no, we're not going to stop the episode, but just as dessert, we have this question. Okay, guys, totally unrelated question. ND Miata, which is the current generation car, FRS BRZ, S2000, or MR2 Spider?
Yeah, I see how you look at me with the MR2
I do,
thing.
because that was like one of your favorite cars you've ever tested.
Yes,
Right.
I still have my first generation MR2 in my garage. That's a tough one. I mean, the MR2 Spider.
That's when Toyota built cool cars.
That's a
Not
really
everything
cool car.
was a Camry.
What's neat about the MR2
Right, and
Spider?
nobody bought them.
No one bought them, but which is kind of neat because you know what? Everyone's got a Miata. You know,
You're right.
Because that, you know, so.
But a mid-engine car,
mid-engine
absolutely
car.
no luggage space whatsoever.
Bah, he didn't ask about that.
No, he didn't.
I also am a big fan of early S2000s. You know, the one with the 2-liter that goes
You want
to
the peaky
9,000.
one.
You want the peaky one that goes
Yeah.
from 6 to 9,000 RPM on the other side of cams. Oh, it's so good. So but that thing rides really bad. So it depends on what you're after. But
those two cars are much more rare than a Miata. So
Exactly.
It's a special,
Yep.
kind of a special piece.
Well, I think we need to ask him if he needs a rag top. And if not, then the FRS, BRZ are pretty serious driver's cars.
They had reliability problems for a while, but they've worked out.
Yeah, I think
but-
they worked that out.
Yeah.
But if you're, really depends what you want from the car. I mean, if you don't have a track in your backyard and you just want to have fun on the road, then I think with a GTI or a Ford Focus ST, you
which
might
are not on the list.
not on the list, but let's expand the choices here. I think that the readily available power of the turbo has a lot of value over these high revving kind of small displacements.
Sure, maybe. As always on the internet, the correct answer to this question is Miata.
right.
It is always Miata. My choice here would be the last generation Miata, the NC, the 2006 to 2015 Miata. I mean, you can get a nice Grand Touring for about $15,000. You're going to get one. We've talked about this before. You can find one with low miles. It's fun to drive. It gives up a little bit of sharpness compared to the current car, but not a lot.
Miata is always the answer.
Miata is-
M-I-A-T-A.
That's right.
That's
Miata
it.
is always the answer.
Look, I mean, true. It's an amazing car.
The
It's
other
a great
thing
car,
is,
but
you know what?
but
Honestly,
again,
you're not going to go wrong with any of these cars. These
Yeah.
are all fun. These are all unique cars.
Right.
They're all going to be a blast. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Talking Cars. As always, we thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.